Hi, welcome to Party Food Hero. I'm Aaron. Today we're going to be making Carolina pulled pork-ish. It's not going to be probably super authentic, but we are going to be using some techniques that is from the Carolinas when they make their pulled pork. It's more of a vinegar-based pulled pork, which I love. I think is delicious. I like your sweet, tangy barbecue sauce too with a pulled pork, but if you've never tried Carolina pulled pork, you really need to try it. It's really easy to make. It does take a bit of time on the old smoker, but totally worth it. This honestly turned out to be one of the best pulled porks I've ever made. Totally worth it. Let's go check it out. All right, to make an amazing pulled pork, you really don't need much. You need your bone-in pork butt or pork shoulder, whatever you want to call it. You need your favorite barbecue rubs. And then I'm going to leave the directions for the mop sauce for this Carolina style pulled pork on partyfoodhero.com. All right, first thing you do, you're going to turn on your smoker. Get that baby ready. You're going to want to put it to 250 degrees. If you have a cool smoker like the Recteq that has Wi-Fi capabilities, just turn that baby on, get it preheated at 250 degrees. All right, so trimming the pork shoulder is 1,000 times easier than trimming a brisket. All I'm really doing here is I'm just trimming off some of the looser, thinner, kind of straggly pieces of meat. And that's about it. I'm gonna leave most of the fat and everything intact. That's gonna help. This is such a long cook that you need that fat to keep this meat nice and juicy and delicious throughout the cook. So that's all I'm taking off just right there. Now what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to put a little bit of mustard on there, or whatever you want to use. You could use like olive oil or peanut oil or whatever you want to use to help bind the barbecue seasoning to the pork butt, pork shoulder, whatever. I'm going to use both terms kind of throughout this video because that's what I'm gonna do. Anyways, all right, so you're gonna rub that in, and then I like to layer up when I'm doing my flavor. So my first layer of flavor is gonna be the one that I put on the heaviest, and that's gonna be, it's essentially salt and pepper. And for Carolina style, all they normally, like true Carolina style, I guess it's just straight up salt is all they use, which is awesome. I wasn't brave enough to only use salt, so I'm using a rub that consists of mostly salt and pepper. There's a little garlic and onion in there as well, but it's mostly just salt and pepper. And that's gonna be my base layer that I'm gonna go pretty heavy on this. This is a giant piece of meat, so you don't need to worry about overdoing it on the rub. Obviously you don't want to dump the whole thing on there, but you can do a good layer. And so with all the meats, like when I'm doing ribs or I'm doing, you know, pulled pork or whatever, I like, especially with pork products or chicken or whatever, I like to layer the flavors on there. So I'm starting with this layer, and then the next layer I'm going to put on is more of a sweet spicy, but I'm going to just dust this because I'm sure people from the Carolinas are like, this isn't how you do Carolina barbecue. This isn't how you do the pulled pork. I get it. That's why I said ish at the beginning. It's not exact, but I wasn't brave enough to just do straight up salt. I didn't want to mess up this pulled pork because it literally took 13 hours to cook. So I do like to add this on there as well because it'll give a really cool color towards the end that you'll get to see. So here we go. That's all you gotta do. And if you want to just do salt and pepper and that's it, go for it. You can do however you want. This is gonna turn out great. If you just did salt, I'm sure it'd be fine. But if you do it the way I'm doing it, I can guarantee you it's going to come out absolutely delicious. And then once you have all of your rub on, what I like to do is let it sit for about 20 minutes, and then it'll just help with the rub adhering to that pork shoulder even better, and it'll just yield a much better result because of it. And you'll get a nice, wonderful bark that you're gonna build up. All right, so before I put the pork butt on there, I like to put a thermometer in there. That way I can monitor the temperature throughout the entire cook. The other thing I always do is I put a water pan, or in this case, a water glass bowl, in with the smoker. This will just help keep the meat nice and moist throughout the cook as well. All right, so after the first hour and then every hour after until this cook is complete, I'm gonna mop the pork shoulder. And all that is, I will have the recipe for this mop sauce in on my website on partyfoodhero.com. And you just kind of, like I'm doing, just do a little dab, dab, dabaroo. And this is gonna build an amazing bark on your pulled pork. If you do this every hour, you're just going to be getting these layers and layers and layers of flavor that is just going to take your pulled pork to the next level. Trust me, it's definitely do it. It's kind of a hassle. This is a 13-hour cook, so I had to come out 13 times and do this, but totally worth it. There you go, little slapperoo. I'm going to slap that butt. There you go. And now I'm going to show you the progression of how this bark builds up and darkens on this pork shoulder. That is delicious. Now, once you hit 200 degrees for an internal temperature on your pork shoulder, you're going to pull it, you're going to wrap it in foil, and you're going to let it rest for at least 30 minutes, preferably an hour. And then you are going to remove the bone and you are going to shred it up. So look at that. Oh my goodness, that's ridiculous. Yeah, so that's what you're looking for as far as bark goes. And then the next test is going to be how easily that bone comes out and how clean it comes out. Now, I only had one hand to do this, so it was a little more difficult than it should have been, but that pull is clean. Look at that bone. Clean. That's how you know you did a good job. And that's how you know it's going to be delicious and super tender. All right, as you're pulling this apart, there's two ways of doing it. You can either do big chunks of pork or finely shredded pork. I really don't care. And you worked hard. So yeah, I did eat that piece and it was delicious. So it just is up to you. Some people like it nice and finely shredded. Some people like kind of more big chunks. As you can see, there's great smoke ring on this pork. You can see the steam coming off. You can see how juicy it is. Oh my gosh, this stuff was so good. It was amazingly delicious. You have to try it this way. It's going to change your life. But yeah, that's what you do. And then if you know you're not going to use it all, what I like to do is take a chunk and freeze it. And that way, when you want to make it again, you warm it back up and then you can shred it and then it retains all that moisture. But enough of this, let's get to my favorite part after we do some extreme close-ups.
All right, now for my favorite part of the video, I get to eat the food. Now, as you could tell, this was a very simple recipe to make. Now, it takes a very long time, but the reason it takes so long is because the lower and slower you go, the more juicy and more smoky and amazing your pulled pork is going to be. Every time you're mopping the top of this, you're just getting another layer of bark on that pulled pork, and the bark is unreal. Okay, so this is best on a sandwich, but I already had a sandwich and kind of cutting down on the old carbaruskis, so I'm just gonna go straight meat. So let's try this out. Here we go. I did add a little bit of that sauce. I just poured a little bit on there, mixed it in there, warmed it up, and here we go. See, you got that dark bark, which is just packed with flavor. You can see some of that smoke ring that's in there. I'm salivating because I know how delicious it's gonna be. All right. Well, okay. I really love pulled pork, and I can respect and enjoy pulled pork with sweet barbecue sauce. Just your standard, Sweet Baby Ray's, or if you're making your own barbecue sauce, or the million barbecue sauces that are out there, I enjoy that as well. I love the Carolina one the most. The Carolina barbecue sauce, which is a vinegar-based barbecue sauce, is just so good. Unless you hate like kind of a vinegary taste. It's not overpowering with vinegar, but it just kind of gets you salivated when you bite into that. It's I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of that sensation you get. It's so good. God, that's really good. But the nice thing about pulled pork, I think the one we had was 8 pounds. It probably yielded, 7.5 pounds of meat. And there's so many things you can do with it. You can make amazing sandwiches, sliders. You can add this on pizza. You could do like egg rolls if you wanted to make egg rolls with it. There's so many things you can do with pulled pork. You could do the lasagna. Like I did the brisket lasagna. I'll have a link at the end for that recipe where I used leftover brisket to make a lasagna. You could use this just as easily and it would be absolutely delicious. But yeah, this is so good. Let me know in the comments down below if you're more of a Carolina style, which is a little more vinegar, or you like just the standard and basic, it sounds so bad, or you like the other, the just kind of your regular sweet, tangy barbecue sauce, if that's kind of your jam. Let me know down below. Well, I'm kind of curious how many people like, where people land on that conversation. But yeah, it's really good. Like I said, not hard to make, just have to have a lot of patience, but I was getting a little impatient towards the end. I couldn't believe how long it was taking because I don't usually wrap it. And that speeds up the process of finishing up the pulled pork. But it's worth it. The bark that you have on here is ridiculous. It's so good. If you learned anything new, if you enjoyed this video, hit like, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. Check out the other videos that we have. We have a ton of different videos on recipes that you can make for parties you're attending, parties that you're gonna be hosting, or if you just wanna make something for yourself or your family. Just tons of great recipes. I really appreciate you watching, and remember, be the Party Food Hero. This is so good.
Be the Party Food Hero.
So good.